Welcome to Leading the Pack, a service of ShowSafe. I'm Sandy Weaver, and you need to know our guest today. She has been wandering around show sites since before she was born. Then there were Doberman Pinschers allowed. After she was born, she wasn't allowed to handle the Doberman Pinschers. She's the woman at AKC who says, if it has something to do with dog sports, just send me everything. If it has to do with dog sports, she pretty much owns the answer, or she knows the answer, or she knows who has the answer. She's a name you know, even if you've only been in dog sports for a few weeks. She's been on the board of Take the Lead for a long time. She's on the board of the AKC Purebred Preservation Bank. Say that three times fast. And she's the current vice president of sports for the American Kennel Club. Oh, her dad was a vice president too, so it's a second generation AKC VP. She's been a successful breeder, a judge, has worn more than a few hats at the AKC before becoming vice president in 2021. She's a champion for improving the experience of juniors in the dog sports world, as well as in conformation. She was inducted into the Ann Rogers Clark Hall of Fame in 2020. She won the Canine Health Foundation President's Award in 2022, and she's been a consistent supporter of ShowSafe since its inception. Please welcome MBO, otherwise known as Mari-Beth O'Neill. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you so much. That sounds humbling, all that.
That's just the kind of person you are. You are the person, and that's why I said people know your name, but they may not know very much about you. You are one of the few people that I've tried to research online, and Dr. Google is like, well, I can find this and this and this and this, but not a whole lot about you personally. So when I ran across the sentence that you were gating Dobermans around the ring before you were born, let's start there. Can you take us through your history in
So,
dog sports?
okay, well, I wasn't quite, my parents weren't actually the handlers of the dogs, but I did attend dog shows in utero. My parents had Doberman Pinschers, and we went to many dog shows. They went to a lot of dog shows before I was born. And in fact, there was a story of when many dog shows were still benched. I was born in July, and this was a hot June day, and they tried to use my mother as an excuse to leave early because she was 8 months pregnant. And Mr. Foley said she had no business being there in the first place. So too bad you weren't leaving. But
Oh my, that's harsh. Come on, Mr.
well,
Foley.
but those were, the way things were. And that's sort of, and then I've attended dog shows ever since as an exhibitor. When I was old enough to finally get my own dog, as I said, my parents had Dobermans, and my parents felt very strongly that I should have a dog that I could pick up and carry if needs be to walk away from any incident that I could protect and take care of without having to have assistance. So
Wise parent.
we ended up, there were a few different options. Miniature pincers was one breed that was introduced, and that didn't work. And then I ended up with a toy Manchester Terrier, a very fortuitous birthday present at that point. She ended up being the top toy Manchester Terrier in the breed for that time frame.
You
Yeah.
started hot.
Well, I think back on that, and I think, well, I hit those things that a lot of people work all their lives to obtain. And she also then became, I had the opportunity to show her as a brace and won the brace group at Westminster the last year in the old garden in 1968. Literally, the wrecking ball hit the building the next day. And in 1969, at the as we refer to it now as the new garden, which isn't so new anymore, the year of the big blizzard, she won the toy group. So a lot of things that occurred and a lot of good fortune. But she was also my junior showmanship dog. And so we went through a lot of my junior's career with her, and then other dogs when she ended up aging out, so to speak. So one of the things that concept of with my family of having a dog that you could pick up and carry, my sister, when she was old enough, she's 2.5 years younger than I am, ended up with whippets, or a whippet initially. So a little bigger, but yes, certainly something you could pick up and carry. I ended up working for the lady that Susan got her whippet from, Mrs. Hodge. which was an amazing, amazing education, helping her take care of the dogs on a daily basis. And she ultimately put my name on a few of the bitches. So I was co-breeder of several whippet litters as well. And then that pick up and carry concept sort of went out the window with my brother, and he had an Irish Wolfhound.
Oh my gosh. So your
Yeah.
parents were just a tiny bit sexist there.
Well, I think it also, by the time you get to that third child, they give up, that so anyway, lots
Wow.
of involvement with different breeds in my younger years. But I did really want to be a handler. And my parents said to me, you have to have a profession. So you need to go to school or determine what you think you want to do to support yourself, because you're not just going to be a dog show gypsy and go running around. And this is back when dog shows were only Saturdays and Sundays. Very
Right.
rarely were there shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There were a couple circuits, the New England circuit, where you literally did every day pick up and move and go to a different, beautiful, quaint New England town, and the Florida circuit in January. But otherwise, things were pretty much just Saturday, Sunday dog shows. I did go to college and became a teacher. And while I was teaching, I did work for Terry Hunt as her assistant, which was another wonderful experience. But Terry, I've known for years before that. Terry had worked for J. Monroe Stebbins, who was the professional handler who showed my dad's Dobermans as well as my Manchester for a major portion of her career. I showed her at her end of her career. It pretty much stayed all in the family. And I am very fortunate that Terry is still a big part of my life today.
That is one of my favorite things about the sport of dogs is the friendships that you make, the lifelong friendships. One of my very first mentors in Siberians, and oh, by the way, same reason when I was picking out my first purebred dog, it was like, do I want a Siberian or do I want a Malamute? They look very similar, and my differentiation was in an emergency, I can pick up a Siberian. And so
Right. Mhm.
kind of the same deal. But the friendships are just amazing.
It
My
is.
one of my initial mentors is still alive and kicking and in her 90s, and we talk at least twice a week. And it's
Yep.
just fabulous. So
Yep.
you ended up going to school and then you became a teacher and then you apprenticed for a handler as while you were teaching. How did you end up working at the AKC?
While I was teaching, it became evident that you have to make additional decisions with any career. Do you pursue additional education to advance your professional career? I did start my master's in reading. And at the time that I started that, that's when I applied to judge. I was also delegate for the American Manchester Terrier Club at the time. So I was no longer going to be Terry's assistant, and I was approved to judge 5 breeds in 4 groups. And then I did sort of, always think, well, I would be interested in something at the AKC. And I was teaching at a school on Long Island, a small private school. And I arrived at Somerset Hills Kennel Club on Saturday morning, and Michael Save, another very close friend, was literally waiting for me to pull onto the showgrounds. And he said, the perfect position has just opened up at the American Kennel Club for you. And I said, what is it? And he said, it's judge's education. So here I am, having completed my master's in reading, but I have been teaching for 10 years at this point and have already become a judge and have started judging. And I thought, well, that does sound like a perfect fit. And he said, well, Terry Stacy will be at the show tomorrow at Westchester. So you go talk to Terry there. And I did. And he said, now I need you to come into the office and meet John Mandeville. So I did. I arranged to be able to leave school early somehow and got into the office and met with both of them. And they offered me the job.
And what year was that?
1990,
So you've been at the AKC for a long time.
a year or two, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
one or two, and your parents worked at the AKC
Well,
also,
my
right?
father did. My
Yep.
father was the executive vice president. That was really a retirement thing for him. He had served on the board of directors of the AKC for over 20 years. But at one point, all three of us, my mother was a delegate as well, and my dad was delegate for the Doberman Pinscher Club of America for years. Tom Powers will say, you and I are the only ones who served as delegates with our parents, at the same time. So
Wow.
anyway, I accepted the position at AKC and started in October of 1990.
And so then you moved rapidly through the ranks. What all different kind of hats did you wear at AKC? What were the different jobs you've done?
Well, I think, to me, the really fun part, well, a lot of it's been very fun. I always say that I'm the lucky one. Not everyone has the opportunity in their life to make their avocation their vocation and to bring my passion for the sports, purebred dogs, breeding, maintaining our breeds, and it is all part of my job. So I started in judges education and had the opportunity to develop the Judges Institutes and put on the first advanced institutes where we actually had the opportunity to spend a whole day at two different sporting institutes watching dogs work in the field, doing what they were bred to do, and then having breed seminars. And I did that for every group. And eventually I became the director of the judges and oversaw the judges department. Then I sort of went back to judges education. And I guess in 2005, I ended up becoming this ingrained in sports services and ended up overseeing all of customer service. And when I took over sports services, it was just a high level department that responded to people in the fancy. We would give cards out with an 800 number to call in so that people, judges, show chairmen, delegates would have the opportunity to reach someone who could A, answer their questions, or B, help them get their questions answered and not leave them on hold. But during that time frame, as efficiencies have occurred in AKC, especially, for example, being able to process events much more efficiently, we inherited a lot of other things that we do in this department. So one of the things that we absorbed was the foundation stock service, which is the recognition of how a breed becomes an AKC recognized breed. And that has evolved. We've continued to tweak what the criteria is to make certain that there's really a viable population of dogs to support that breed in this country for the future. I also inherited our vet outreach program so that we have opportunities, or we developed opportunities to provide what we call lunch and learn at the vet schools for vet students to learn all about sort of a brief overview of the AKC and the affiliates. So at least we're trying to make a more positive interaction with the veterinary world. And then there's several smaller programs, but then the passion that I've always had has always been when I first was able to start trying to make a difference with the juniors program. So that's been since I think about 95 that I've had the juniors program basically.
I'm hearing a woman who is very accomplished at setting up really good systems to put the right systems in place to get things done efficiently and to grow the scope of different programs. Would that be correct? Is that a good
Well,
characterization of you?
we try. Some of it is impacted by our own infrastructure here, but we try to do it as efficiently as we can. But we also look at opportunities. There's always opportunities to grow, to expand, to recognize participation. I mean, to me, it was very important, even 30 years ago, that we acknowledge and recognize juniors who participate in all of our sports. And of course, the number of sports AKC has grown significantly in the past 30 years as well. So it's no longer just obedience, confirmation, and field trials. We now have 14 other sports in which you can compete. And we encourage everyone to try it. You might like it.
You might love it. I mean, I love going to the shows and the clusters that have all the things going on, and
Right,
because people are just having so much fun. It keeps them busy, it keeps their dogs busy,
right.
everybody's just having a blast. Things have changed a lot since you first started in dog sports, since I first started in dog sports. What are the major changes that you're seeing?
Well, there's just the influence that technology has and has had on all of our lives, and which has created people wanting instant responses to everything or instant gratification. So, there isn't the patience or in one respect, the understanding that, developing a dog to be a show dog or developing an understanding of what you do to establish a breeding program doesn't happen overnight. Those are things that take months, years, decades, even maybe to achieve. But fortunately, there are still lots of people out there who have the desire to play our games, play in our sports, and hopefully continue to breed successfully and help maintain all of our breeds.
As the sport has moved forward and morphed and changed, as society has morphed and changed, what do you see as our biggest challenges?
Keeping people's attention. We are really challenged in the conformation world right now. Conformation entries continue to decline, and we at here internally discuss it routinely as what can we do to help clubs maintain entries? What is it that we can do to help bring new people in? And part of it is breeders have to encourage their puppy buyers to participate. I mean, many times, I myself, you sold a puppy, you put it on a co-ownership, and you help make sure the puppy got shown and exhibited. And a lot of people aren't willing to invest that time in other people anymore. They sell puppies and that's it. They're gone. They don't.
And that's a shame because they miss a great opportunity for both for their own breeding program,
Well,
and for developing the sport.
right, and developing new people and bring new people in, and it's really sad, but it does take work. It takes a lot of effort to have to encourage people and hold their hands and talk them through it and educate them. And I think the other thing is just the societal aspect of people have to work. Both members of a household usually have to work now, so there isn't one person that can stay at home and just raise litters of puppies and take care of what's happening in the house. That So everybody's time is limited. They want to invest their free time in the ways they want to, and the most efficient ways to do things. Why that, and again, why clusters or events where they have multiple things going on are so successful. So people can choose to go to, well, I'll go to this cluster because I can compete in three different events there instead of three different weekends doing
Right,
one each or something.
right.
And things have become more and more expensive. We're all very aware of that. We're aware of the expenses that clubs have to find appropriate facilities for their events and how challenging that is for a lot of clubs, and that they have to bring in some of these other sports to help maintain it.
And when you're bringing in other sports, you're bringing in a lot of different kinds of people.
Yep.
And sometimes that you just end up with a little bit of friction or a little bit of maybe a little bit of scary. I know you do a lot of work with juniors. You have a heart for the juniors. How have things changed from that standpoint?
As with other everything, the actual number of junior entries has declined. It's sort of stabilized. I would say it's been pretty consistent maybe over the last 10 years, but well, it's not what it used to be. But we still have, and I think the great aspect is Westminster is still, the big deal for juniors to qualify for, as well as for the AKC National Championship is another. And I made the criteria for that completely different. I wanted it to be more inclusive, to allow more children to be eligible to attend. So the criteria is having just class wins as opposed to best junior wins. However, the teacher in me came out, and you have to have a 3.0 grade point average or equivalent to be eligible to enter. But we also then have all the other different types of junior events that go on in Orlando, with a junior showcase event in agility and in obedience and rally, so that they have special events just for the juniors, along with the juniors that compete in those events along with the adults. So it's all important and it's all great.
And juniors are the future of our sport. We've got to nurture them. We've got to keep them safe. We've got to keep them connected, and we've got to build a community around them.
Yes, absolutely. I've felt that way all along, that if we don't have new young people with the same passion and interest and desire, somebody's got to take my job someday.
Right.
We need people to do all kinds of different things in our sport. So, and it's not just being dog handlers, not that dog handlers aren't important and aren't a huge component of our sport, but we need breeders, we need veterinarians, we need
Co-chairman.
photographers,
Yep.
doctors, lawyers, the whole gamut. People who are good business people, so I always encourage everyone to be open-minded and think about what your interest can lead you to. You can still show your dogs, you can still participate. You just don't have to do it every weekend if you don't want to.
Exactly. And
Um,
great leaders, and I'm speaking to club people right now, great leaders grow their own replacements. So
right.
unless you want to be president of the club and also the show chairman and also the person who has to set up judges' hospitality and serve all the judges lunch, you need to grow your own replacements. And you need to be looking at your younger members for that.
Well, right. You need to encourage and give them the opportunity to do things and not just do it all yourself. So,
Exactly, exactly. And not just tell them, oh, go do that, and
no,
don't give them a chance to think or innovate. Because one of the
right.
things that I love about what you've done at AKC, Maribeth, is that you have walked into something and said, this is good. How do we make it better? How do we make it bigger? And that's what we need to encourage our juniors to do too.
Thank you. And hopefully they see the opportunity that there are lots of things for them to do. And the other thing that I feel that I've helped encourage is scholarships being offered in a lot more places than they had previously, including our show in Westminster, that are very nice, very generous scholarships. But now AKC will have regional junior showmanship competitions this year with scholarships being offered both by the host club and AKC. And there have been numerous clubs throughout the country who very generously have offered scholarships in conjunction with their weekend or cluster, which is really appreciated.
So, as I mentioned, you have been a very consistent supporter of ShowSafe since it first started. What drew you to ShowSafe? What was it about ShowSafe that made you feel like this was an important place to pour yourself into?
So I felt that ShowSafe has the opportunity to do something outside of AKC to further develop. And I was so impressed with the initial concept of creating an educational program for leadership and really working on developing leadership skills, along with the concept of, we all have to be cognizant in society today of what is safe. What is safe for you? What's safe for your dogs? I was fortunate that, when I was first old enough to travel to shows by myself, which of course, as soon as I had my driver's license is what my intent was, um, that my dad said, if you're ever at a show and you need something or something happens, these are the people you can go to. And I think I probably already realized it, but at least there was some guidance. Plus, I felt like I grew up with at least three mothers, if not half a dozen. There was always someone who was watching over, and it only took one phone call for that information for
Right.
whatever it was. It got reported back. And that
They're
wasn't,
reporting
I
on
mean,
your
that was
wins.
even, when I had started teaching. We all look out for each other, or we try to look out for each other. But again, society changes, and we all need to be aware of surrounding circumstances. Even the way offices are built today. I'm sitting here in my office, and there's a window next to the door, so there's not, no one could be closed in here behind a closed door.
Right.
And things that you didn't necessarily even think about, but good, bad, or indifferent. They're things we all need to become aware of and in our environment. So being cautious. And when I first started judging, and you fly home, and I flew into LaGuardia, and I landed at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, what am I doing walking through this garage by myself at night?
Guilty.
I mean, that's like crazy.
Yeah.
And so I never did that again, and maybe right that you choose a place to park your car that might be a little more expensive, but I know I'm going to be safe getting to my vehicle. And I guess I was fortunate that I learned a few of those things right out of the box and not
Hmm.
having something happen, someone coming and hitting me over the head or something. But in the
Right. You didn't
interim,
have to learn the hard way. Yeah.
right. And so I think, those are those opportunities to help share experiences and help guide people, and not just our juniors, but people up to, young people into their 30s. And especially now, everybody's so on their phone or on their iPad that they aren't looking around them even,
Hmm.
they don't realize what's happening 6 feet away from them.
How can clubs
Well,
help plug into this? Because your parents did a really good job building a community around you. How can clubs help in their events or in other ways? How can clubs help build a community around the younger people and the newer people in our sports?
so, that being open and being willing to be and being receptive to having new people, having junior memberships in your club. And we've changed our club relations department now will allow bylaw revisions just to add a junior membership without it being a huge hurdle.
Hmm.
Along with that, considering what you can do at your event, well, even at your meetings that would be inclusive for young people and new people, be inclusive with new people, offer them something that they can do, encourage them to volunteer to do something, and then offer some activities that are unique or special for maybe the juniors, maybe it's for new people at your show. And a myriad of things are available, from offering Pee-wee to AKC Registered Handlers Program have their own junior clinics. ShowSafe now offers their program, which is
Hmm.
both a handling clinic as well as a sort of classroom discussion. The Junior Task Force, which is a group of AKC delegates that I participate with, encourage offering some educational program of some variety, done in conjunction with perhaps one of the other handling clinics.
Hmm.
So there's lots of things that you can do if you're willing to make the effort. And then there's the component of just donating. I mean, donating some funds to ShowSafe or any organization that you feel that your club could benefit. And it's just equally important to look to contribute to things in your local community. Make sure your community knows you're there to help guide them, as well as offering funds to organizations that are going to provide educational things for the future, which is why I have encouraged one of my clubs to donate to ShowSafe. So
Thank you very much for spending time with us. But I have one last exceptionally important question. What did you learn from your dog that changed how you treat people?
patience.
That's a good one.
It's hard to always remember to take a deep breath sometimes, and I think as you're struggling in some manner with your dog, it just in anything that you do, but take a deep breath and then try to handle it, try to deal with it, try to do whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, even if it's trying to respond to someone that you would really not like to have a conversation with, but that
Yep.
you do.
The late Jimmy Buffett has a fabulous song, Breathe In, Breathe Out, Move On. So sometimes that's just all you can do. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything that we didn't touch on that you think is important to say?
Have a good time.
I
And
love that. Yes.
and if it stops being an enjoyment and a pleasure for you, maybe you need to reassess. But enjoy it, enjoy your dogs, enjoy your friends. And tomorrow there's another dog show someplace else. So
That's exactly right. Mari-Beth O'Neill, Vice President of AKC's Sports Services. Thank you very much for spending time with us today.
thank you very much.
Appreciate your insight, appreciate your help. ShowSafe partners with clubs to create a safer, more sustainable show community. If you want to create a great environment for the sport, for families, and for juniors, please connect your club to ShowSafe by emailing info@showsafe.org. That's show-safe.org. Thanks for joining us.